Hi everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hi everybody. Thanks for joining me today for today's Periscope. I came out here before there was any noise, but now there are leaf blowers. Hopefully you can't hear them. Please tell me you can't hear the leaf blowers. Say, no, I can't hear the leaf blowers. Right? Your hearts tell me one thing, your silence tells me another. Is it quiet enough? Is it good enough? You guys can hear me okay? You can't really hear them. Good. Hi, everybody. Hi, barely. Good. We can hear you. That's the important thing. You're new here. Fantastic. Can't hear them. Sounds great. Well, you can't hear them because they just turned off. Hi from Montreal. Adria. Can't hear them. Great. Hi, Sandra. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Colleen Patrick-Goudreau here from joyfulvegan.com. You can find all of my work at joyfulvegan.com. Basically, I guide people to living according to their own values of compassion and wellness, and I debunk myths about veganism. And I'm a voice for animals. And so what I want to talk about today is something very basic that that really has to do with what it means to be vegan, because there are so many misconceptions and mispronunciations of veganism. So hi, Tammy from Scottsdale. Really nice to see you here. So I want to just really debunk these myths and this idea that somehow when you try to be vegan, if you are vegan, you are trying to attain some level of perfection, and I am here to debunk that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me know if you're new here, if you've never joined before. I'd love to hear. Just type in new and where you're from so I can give you a shout out and say hi. And we're going to keep this under 30 minutes. I want to just make sure we get out this my information to you, and then I'll take some of your questions and where you struggle with some of these issues. My hair looks amazing today. Thank you. New, welcome. Marion, was that? Marion, Mario, I'm going to say Mario from Chicago. Is that Mario? New here from Georgia, Dexter. Welcome. John from New York. Welcome. Hello from Plant Food. Welcome. My hair is always on point. That is very sweet, Chelsea. That is just too sweet. New to this media, not new to your books and podcasts, etc. Carolyn. Wonderful. Well, welcome. This is an amazing medium I'm really excited about Periscope. In Stockton, I was a vegan for 4 years, but after my pregnancy, I fell back into eating meat. Well, welcome back, Stockton. Welcome. I'm in Oakland, by the way. When you say Stockton, I assume you mean California, and welcome from Bogota. Colombia, I love it. I just love how universal this is. New from Dallas, lots of newbies. So hold on to your questions. I really want to hear what you have to say and what your challenges are. My girlfriend, says Mario, recommended you going to Vegan Mania. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I'll be in Chicago in October, so not much longer. And love from Ireland. I was supposed to be in Ireland in November, but I won't be there. Highland Park, Los Angeles, Plant for People. Fantastic. I need to make a slow cooker book. Okay, let's just step back with all of your recommendations and let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. And for those who are new, if you tap on your screen, you can see all those hearts coming up. You can contribute hearts. And hearts are they do many things. One thing they do is they help me know that what I'm saying makes sense to you, that it resonates with you, that you can hear me. And it's a way that Periscope ranks scopes. So it's really helpful. And so for those who are watching the rebroadcast, you can also still tap on your screen and get hearts. So don't get carpal tunnel. But your hearts really help me. And you can share with people right now. If you think there are people who want to participate, who would be interested in this information, you can share right now by swiping up on your Android and left to right on your iPhone, and you can invite people to join us for today's scope. So look, very basically, vegetarian means that you're not consuming the flesh of any animal. That includes fish, because of course fish are not vegetables. And vegan means you're not consuming the flesh or secretions of any non-human animal. So that includes anything that comes out of or off of an animal. There is a difference. It's very interesting, the difference between vegetarian and vegan beyond that kind of basic distinction. And I think anybody would tell you, and I will tell you from my own experience, that once you become vegetarian, it's great. And I started off in vegetarian. I think a lot of people take those steps where they stop eating land animals first and then they become vegan. But when you become vegan, something very different happens. It really is very much an awakening, and that's really what I call that process, because you start to look through a lens that you have never looked through before. There's this kind of falling away of all these excuses and falling away of all of these barriers to your unconditional compassion that's there all the time, even if you're vegetarian or you're not vegetarian. I do believe that we are innately compassionate, but we have blocks to that compassion, and so we wind up living selectively compassionately. So we wind up having blocks to that compassion and making choices that reflect a selectiveness, right? So we compartmentalize our compassion, we compartmentalize the animals, and we make excuses for not taking the full step to really fully manifest our values of compassion or wellness for whatever reason you're coming to this. And so that's something that really happens when you become vegan, and you also become aware of all of the issues surrounding veganism and certainly the plights of animals. And so what happens is you can also become a little, let's say, passionate, let's say evangelistic, let's say vegangelistic, and let's say angry. Some people can also become angry. And I apologize for that leaf blower. I really hope it's okay. Can you hear me okay? Hopefully you can still hear me okay, because I'm closer than the leaf blower. So that's a very natural response, but I think and I talk about this in great detail in my podcast, Food for Thought, around the stages of what happens when you stop eating animals, that anger and that despair and the emotions that come with it. What can happen if we don't keep it in check is we also can become self-righteous and lose sight of why we became vegan in the first place, or what being vegan really means. And good, I'm glad you can't hear a leaf blower, Carbon Marvin. Welcome. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody who's just joining us. So that one of the things that happens is we lose sight of what it means to be vegan. And of course, for those of you who are interested in becoming vegan, or just thought about being vegan, or just are curious about veganism, there's this notion that if you can't do it perfectly, you might as well not do it at all, right? You may have met someone who's vegan who's a little too evangelistic for you, or who's too rigid, or you think that it's going to be really rigid, and so you don't make any change at all. So one of the first things I really want to clarify, and this is the most important thing I could say today about being vegan, thank you, Debbie, love to you, is the biggest misconception about veganism. The biggest misconception. Are you ready for it? You're ready for the biggest misconception? This is the deal breaker. I mean, this is really where it hinges on people becoming vegan or not staying vegan. People have this notion that being vegan is an end in itself, that somehow it's some end point, that you become vegan and that's the end point, that that's the goal. The goal is not to become vegan. That's not the goal. Being vegan is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And for me, that end is unconditional compassion. For you, it might be compassion and wellness. So through veganism, you can get to that point. You can get to that point of reflecting your values and reflecting that which you want to reflect, which would be compassion or health, really, right? Your ethics. So does that make sense? I cannot impress that upon you enough. I cannot repeat that more emphatically. Being vegan is not an end. It is not the goal. The goal is not to become vegan. The goal is to manifest our values and our behavior. And one of the most practical and possible ways to do this, and joyful and abundant and effective ways to do this, is by becoming vegan. Is by not consuming animals and not contributing to the industry that contributes to the most harm to our health, to the animals, to the environment, to the workers who are killing animals for people's consumption of these animals. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That is the biggest takeaway I want you to take from this particular scope, is that being vegan is not the goal. And so if you realize that being vegan is not the goal, then you realize the choices you make in your everyday life, being vegan, are based on what's the best I can do to attain this goal of compassion or wellness. Then you don't get so hung up on being perfect, and you don't get so hung up on being, pure, right? This idea that there's some kind of doctrine or dogma around veganism drives me crazy. And it's not just an idea, because some people absolutely do spout this dogma, and I don't agree with that at all. I'm 99% raw vegan. Okay, fantastic. Mark, I'm actually doing my podcast this weekend on raw versus cooked foods. Angelo says, helps with being more compassionate for all living beings. Of course. I mean, being vegan means that you're reflecting compassion. That's the whole point. So does that make sense to everybody? I mean, that's the main thing that I want people to walk away with, is that being vegan is not the goal and being vegan is not the end in itself. You do not get a certificate of perfection when you become vegan. Some people think they do. Some people act like they do, and they sit in judgment of others, and nothing, and then nobody's attracted to that. Who wants to be attracted to that? But you do not get a certificate when you become vegan. There is no such thing as a 100% certified vegan, hence the title of this scope. Does that make sense? Okay. You're welcome, Mark. It will be coming out on Sunday. Very excited about it. That's food for thought. Hallelujah, no certificate. Yes, that makes sense, Debbie. Good. Gotcha. Tammy. Good. Fantastic. And your hearts are speaking that as well. So that makes sense to you. If you want to share this with anybody you think would benefit from this right now, please share by swiping up on your Android and left to right on your iPhone. And you can invite people to join the scope. And of course, you can watch the rebroadcast. And you can continue to send hearts because I receive them and I welcome them. Okay, so if being vegan then is not about receiving some kind of certificate, I'm so sorry, this leaf blower is getting closer. Please tell me you can't hear the leaf blower. Sorry. It wasn't like this when I first came. We'll take a moment. I'll take a look at some of your questions and I can hold them for once I finish what I want to say. You can hear it. I know, because it's close. You can barely hear it. Healthy Dad Dude. Thanks. Hi, Healthy Dad Dude. You can hear it, but no big deal. Okay, so I'll just let go of it a little bit now. We can hear it, but you're still loud and clear. Good. Leaf blower, no big deal. Good. Okay, great. Thank you. So what happens then, because then what happens also, let me put this back on the non-vegans, is what happens is, sorry, it's actually one of my pet peeves. I cannot stand the sound of a leaf blower. So you're actually witnessing one of my challenges. Oh my God, it's getting closer. Okay, it's not going to last much longer. There can't be that many leaves. Okay, so what happens then? Live TV outside. There's a jet going by. Oh my God. Okay, good. I'll just stop worrying about it. So then what happens, because what happens is then you've got this phenomenon where a vegan will tell a non-vegan that they're vegan, and the non-vegan will say, yeah, well, there's no such thing as a 100% certified vegan. What about your shoes? What about the bugs you step on? What about the insects you kill when you drive? What about the car you drive? And they find all these ways to catch you in finding, in creating harm, right? As if you ever said, I'm vegan, therefore I'm perfect. As if you ever said you were trying to attain perfection. As if you ever said that it was about any of those things. So the best thing we can do as vegans is to just say, look, I'm doing the best I can. It's not about that. Of course, I'm doing things that harm others, like unintentionally. But what's the alternative? Not do anything at all, right? So those of you who know my work know that my favorite mantra is don't do nothing because you can't do everything. Do something, anything. Everything we do has an impact, makes a difference on those we're trying to help. It doesn't make sense to not do anything at all because we can't do it perfectly. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So to not do anything at all because we can't do everything perfectly is just self-sabotage, and it's just an excuse to not do anything at all. Rad, I'm going to call you Rad. I get the human heart. Okay, you're going to have to say that again because I missed it. Love that line. I stole it for my own use. You can take it. You can steal it. Or they ask you about being vegan and then you say you're preaching. Well, of course. And, look, we have to keep ourselves in check. We have to know where we end and another person begins. We have to know the truth is sometimes people can be preachy. We can be preachy, and we have to know when we're doing that. And we also have to know that if we say something that's just the truth and someone gets upset by it, that's not necessarily ours either. Great, they stopped. Being vegan is my practice, Renee said. Okay, so then what happens is you don't get so hung up on all of these perfections. I'm a recovering perfectionist, says Emily. I love that honesty. I love that, Emily. In what ways was it more that you kind of gave yourself a lot of grief for trying to be a perfect vegan, or you were giving it to other people, or both? And so am I. I'm sorry I missed who that was, but thank you so much for your honesty. I really appreciate that. None of us are perfect, even in trying to be imperfect. That's a tweetable. We're not even perfect in trying to be imperfect. Sorry, I said I get an argument about the human harm I'm contributing by buying phones, etc. Right. And so, look, we're all in that situation where we're constantly tasked to, kind of account for our behavior. And of course, we all want to be mindful about what we're doing. And so the answer to someone who says, well, what about the phone you're using and all of that? The answer is, yeah, like this is an imperfect world. And the more I discover and the more I learn, the better I want to do. And I'm never going to do it perfectly. And I'm doing my part. I feel better doing my part than not doing anything at all. So what's your point? Should I not do anything? Should we just throw in the towel and say that everything we do is going to contribute to harm to someone? So what are we going to do? We'll live in a hole somewhere? That's not solving any problems. That's not solving anything. So everything we do has an impact. That's true, negative or positive. There are no neutral actions. But to say, what about that and what about this and you're causing harm here, so what's your point is the question I would ask to that person. Everyone has an opportunity to make an impact. Exactly, Chelsea. Everything we do has an impact. There's nothing we do that doesn't have an impact. I'm non-vegan, says John, but I have vegan friends. It's not that they think they're perfect. They think I'll wait for it, are better than people who eat meat. You know, one of the things that happens when you become vegan is you're so in tune to all of the suffering that animals go through. And you really do look at the world through a very different lens. You don't just see an inanimate object there on the plate when you see a hamburger. You see the suffering those animals went through. And I just don't think everybody's really good at being able to articulate the pain that you feel when you see that, rather than they just become angry because they want to shake the people who are eating that burger and say, don't you know, don't you understand, forgetting that they probably don't know and don't understand, that it would be much more effective to actually explain it to them than just becoming arrogant. So on their side, they have to keep that in check, and they have to be honest, and they have to be live in this world. On your side, you have to understand where they're coming from, and that's often what it is. So, you know, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I have no call to be arrogant. I ate animals, even once I knew that animals, were killed to get put on my plate and be cut up. So I have no call to be arrogant. I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I do think I'm better than I used to be, and that's really what I focus on more than anything. John says, I do, but understanding is a two-way street. Right. But you're never going to control what they do. You can only control what you do. You can only control how you react, how you understand. It is not about them. Just like when they're dealing with you, it's not about you, it's about them. So don't worry about them, worry about yourself. And if they're holding up a mirror to you that makes you uncomfortable, look in the mirror and see what about it might make you uncomfortable. But don't even think about how they are. Think about how you react to them. That's the best advice I could give in just human relations in general. It's never about the other person. It's always about how I react to that other person. Tammy, love that. Awesome. Do I shoot a question or wait until later? Go for it, Mario. You can ask me a question now. Has a vegan ever said, says Emily, they were better than you? Perceptions aren't always the truth. Right. No, of course. Of course. I get it, Emily. I think John gets it. Progress, not perfection. Again, Chelsea. Yes. Yes. All right. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Colleen Patrick-Goudreau from joyfulvegan.com. You can swipe left to right if you want people to join us and invite people, and you can swipe up on your Android to invite people to join us today. So if you have any questions about where you struggle or where you feel that you're trying to be perfect or that you wish other people were more perfect, the leaf blower is starting again. I don't like leaf blowers. Adria Traffic, do you do these every day? Yes, I'm doing Periscopes every day. So make sure you follow me and you'll get little notifications about it. I tend to do them, in the morning and sometimes in the evening as well. Thanks for inviting people. Vegan Voyage Hill. Fantastic. Great. Well, if you have any questions about where you struggle, or if there are any recovering perfectionists out there who have any questions, let me know. But remember, this is not about dogma. It's not about doctrine. It's not about rules. It's not about rules. And I think the problem is that people see vegans saying no to things more than they see them saying yes. And I think it's really important to remember that, yeah, we say no to things. We say no to suffering and violence and to environmental destruction and to ill health, but we also say yes to our values. Mario said people's